Coming up on Naperville News 17, Sica funding includes some new events. See history in motion thanks to Cantigny's new edition, and an anniversary celebration that's too cute. Hello everyone, I'm Kim Pierce. Thanks for joining us for this week's Naperville News. Proposed Sica allocations will benefit some new events on their way to Naperville next year. Naperville News 17's Christine Lena has the details.
The Special Events and Cultural Amenities, or Sica Commission, is investing in new events and experiences for 2020. Sica recently allocated its pot of just over $1 million from a 1% citywide food and beverage tax. The highest grossing grant recipients are the Last Fling, with just over $172,000, and the newly formed 4th of July event, Naperville Salute, with a little over $108,000. 5% of Sica's total funds went to capital projects, 15% to visual arts, 40% to performing arts, 10% to new initiatives, and 30% to theme-related initiatives. Next year's theme is Come Together, and fitting right into that is Naper Pride's proposed Pride Fest, which the Commission decided to allocate just over $83,000 for.
When it comes to the implementation, I think the application, the way it's presented, is one that is very, you can tell that there's much passion behind it and much grit.
Another new event that received funding was West Suburban Irish's Irish Fest, which was granted $16,000. The Commission's reasoning for funding certain requests over others and for how much comes down to the applications.
Many kind of fell below my expectations of how they would be presented and what they would look like.
All allocations will be presented to City Council in early January for their final approval. Reporting for Naperville News 17, I'm Christine Lena.
And NCTV 17 is partially funded by a grant from Sica. Naperville City Council got their first look at the 2020 city budget. Naperville News 17's Casey Krajewski walks us through the first budget workshop.
Naperville City staff presented the first two elements of the 2020 city budget to council members at a recent workshop.
The budget's ultimately put together to support our goals. As we go through each of the ends policy sections, we're going to discuss what makes up the changes and how each of the major budgetary requests are tied to our policies.
City Manager Doug Krieger discussed economic development, including several key 2020 initiatives, like new developments currently being built and the Downtown Streetscape project.
The key to this is really the timing. We need to get this done in 2020 so that it is up and better and has good traffic flow when the Washington Street Bridge work starts in 2021.
While discussing the streetscape, Mayor Steve Chirico relayed a resident's idea of a Patriot Fund to make Naperville look more patriotic during holidays and parades.
What about, showing a little bit more patriotism? And so, is it possible to have a patriotism fund that we can put flags out on streetlights in our downtown or along Washington Street or Ogden Avenue and on those occasions?
That seemed to have some support among the other council members. Naperville's services to residents were also touched on, as city staff recommended the additions of 8 new full-time staff members. That includes several on the city's IT team, which will help support public-facing e-services. The next budget workshop will go over Naperville's public safety budget and financial stability. That will be held on November 18th. Reporting for Naperville News 17, I'm Casey Krajewski.
Will County residents could soon be paying a bit extra for gas. County Commissioner Julie Berkowitz recently held a public forum to discuss a potential 4 to 8 cents per gallon motor fuel tax in the county.
This is another burden for people who are struggling right now. We've had so many tax increases, and even though you may say it's only 4 cents or 8 cents a gallon, it still adds up.
The tax could generate between $12 and $14 million of revenue for the county, depending on the per gallon rates. That money would be used to repair county roads, 66% of which are more than 50 years old. However, most residents at the meeting claimed Will County residents are already overburdened by taxes and suggested a non-binding referendum on the issue.
I would support that. I want the residents to be able to express their voice and tell us how do they feel about this.
DuPage County already imposes a gas tax of 4 cents per gallon. Will County estimates a 4-cent tax would cost the average driver about $21 per year. Business leaders and owners gather to learn what the future economic forecast holds. Our own Christian Cantigny tells us if it's rain or shine.
With stocks soaring, low interest rates, inflation, and unemployment being low, this year's economic forecast is looking bright.
Over the past year, the U.S. economy has grown about 2%. That's down from 3% a year or so ago, but still a very solid number. And that's close to the rate that the economy can grow at over the long run without leading to higher inflation.
Joining Foucher at the Naperville Area Chamber of Commerce and Calamos Investment Annual Economic Forecast were panelists John Calamos, founder of Calamos Investments, and Caroline Harris, Vice President of Tax Policy for the United States Chamber of Commerce. They all agree there are concerns with trade tensions between the U.S. and China, but stronger home building in 2019 has offset some of that, and lower mortgage rates have boosted in sales this year. After a brief Q&A, panelists were asked one final question by moderator Terry Savage. What is one prediction for next year?
I think we'll still see a positive market in here, and I would say, if I had a guess, I would think that the market would be up a good 10 to 15%.
We're cheating our economy of an opportunity for growth if we don't modernize our infrastructure and stop these, make these trade wars worth it. Let's get modern trade policy that we need.
Though confident in their predictions, panelists said they could change depending on who's the next president. For Naperville News 17, I'm Christian Cantigny.
This September, the unemployment rate was at its lowest since 1969. After the break, find out if local schools made the grade on the Illinois report card.
Timing is everything, especially when it comes to your business. Whether you're ready to start up or expand out, running a business is challenging. You deserve a trusted partner. At Busey, we tailor our approach to your unique needs and help you navigate financial decisions, achieve your goals, and realize your dreams of success. Your dreams shouldn't wait. Busey, your dream, our promise.
I thought the interview was great. It helped increase exposure for my center in Naperville. It helped increase my exposure within my company. And above all, it was just great to talk to Liz about education, and we both share a similar passion about it.
Naperville schools show impressive numbers in their 2019 performance. Naperville News 17's Christine Lena breaks down the stats.
According to the 2019 Illinois report card, 12 of District 203 schools earned an exemplary rating, with their performance among the top 10% in the state, while District 204 nearly doubled their number compared to last year.
Last year, the district had 6 schools that were placed in exemplary category, and that has increased to 11.
Both districts were well above the state's 36th percentile ranking on the SAT. 63% of District 204 students met or exceeded the English language arts and math standards. For District 203, 66% and 67% of students met or exceeded standards in those same academics.
Our average SAT score corresponds to an ACT of about 24-25. So if you remember from the past, or if you looked at old assessment data, this corresponds to about the 77th national percentile rank. So 50% of our student population is in essentially the top quartile. And so I just want to pause for a second and recognize how remarkable this is.
On the Illinois Science Assessment, 70% of 204 students met or exceeded standards, and 80% of District 203 students did the same. That's compared to the state's 49% proficiency in that test. And new to this year's report was a look at district spending and how federal resources are used for their sites and students. Expenditures per pupil in 203 is about $16,000, and for 204 is about $12,000. The state separates per pupil spending by instructional and operational, each of which average $8,000 and $14,000 respectively. Reporting for Naperville News 17, I'm Christine Lena.
A new month means a safer Naper. This month's topic focuses on online shopping safety. With online marketplaces becoming more popular, it's important to keep your personal safety in mind. The Naperville Police Department is introducing something new right in front of their own building to do just that.
The Naperville Police Department is excited to bring this additional layer of security to our residents by expanding our internet safety area. We have these 2 dedicated parking spots in front of the police department with coverage of high definition cameras, additional lighting, as well as access to an emergency telephone.
The new parking spots will help make exchanges more secure, since in most cases, the buyer and seller don't know each other. If you can't make it to the parking spots or the department's lobby during open hours, the NPD recommends meeting in a well-lit and well-trafficked area. Some other tips to keep in mind when browsing the internet: use familiar websites and look for sites where the URL starts with HTTPS with a padlock next to it. One last tip: don't share personal information online like your birth date or social security number. A Naperville teen's optimism is leading him to success. Naperville News 17's Christian Canizal tells us his story.
For Juan David Campolargo, this moment has been a lifetime in the making. The 17-year-old, who's currently a senior at Bennett Academy, immigrated to the United States from Venezuela with his family 3 years ago. They sought refuge after a tragic incident.
It was a normal Saturday when, like a group of criminals tried to kidnap my dad and I, and they started shooting and all over the place. So the car had bullets all over the place, and a gunshot impacted him, and people thought we'd both die, and I was alive.
It left Campolargo devastated, but because he survived, he felt he had no choice but to be optimistic, and it's gotten him pretty far. Campolargo didn't speak any English when he moved to Naperville, but learned how to in just 6 months.
Instead of thinking English, oh my God, English has more than 10,000 words, I'm going to learn that. No, I just told myself, I'm going to learn the subjects like I, he, we, whatever, and then the verbs, which is the most important things in languages.
Shortly after he learned a second language, he started taking college courses in high school. His impressive story doesn't stop there, as Campolargo is also a business owner, is on 2 Naperville advisory committees, and even manages to squeeze in some volunteering time at the public library. His latest accolade is his book, Generation Optimism, which encourages young people to have a more optimistic outlook in life. This caught the eye of Arthur Zards, who runs TEDx Naperville.
So here you have a 16-year-old kid saying, I want younger generations to think of optimism, and that's fascinating, and I wanted to explore that with him.
And on November 9th, audiences can explore it as well, as Campolargo will be a keynote speaker at TEDx Naperville. He hopes what he says that day can have a positive impact on the audience.
If I can do anything to improve people's life, I would totally do it. I am more than willing to do that, and that's what brings me joy and happiness, and that's what drives me the most.
For Naperville News 17, I'm Christian Canizal.
Generation Optimism is set to debut in December. Coming up, a lesson in history from the stepsister of Anne Frank.
We live in a safe community, but not a crime-free community. If you see something, say something. Be a Naperville Crime Stopper.
Fall is upon us, and that means so is the flu season. Last year was a record-breaking duration for flu season in the United States, lasting over 20 weeks. In Illinois, the season typically lasts from October until April.
As of now, we just only have sporadic activity, so it's a very good time to get your influenza vaccine because that can take a few weeks to kick in. So I would recommend everyone to get their influenza vaccine before the flu season starts to pick up.
It's recommended that those 6 months of age or older get the flu vaccine, and it's highly suggested for the elderly, young children, and pregnant women. Pinksy said there's also a nasal vaccine for those who don't have immune system suppression or if you're not a fan of needles. Cleaning your hands and using coughing and sneezing etiquette can also decrease your chances of contracting the flu. The Noon Rotary Club of Naperville is once again collecting coats for veterans. This will be the Rotary's 8th year participating in the Stand Down Day event, which provides winter clothes, health services, and employment assistance for homeless veterans.
I just feel like it's a very important cause to be servicing folks that have served our nation, that have kept our freedoms, and that they are properly taken care of.
Jones Kostelik said they're hoping to collect 300 coats over the course of the drive, which ends November 8th. New and gently used coats can be dropped off at 28 locations around Naperville, including Friedrich Jones Funeral Home and the Fort Hill Activity Center. A full list of participating locations can be found on the Rotary website. And the Rotary is only accepting men's coats, as the vast majority of participants in the Stand Down Day program are men. Cantigny Park is constantly looking for new ways to tell the stories of veterans. Our own Casey Krajewski got up close and personal with the newest addition to their museum.
The First Division Museum at Cantigny Park is known for its tanks, but only the newest addition to the fleet actually drives. The museum recently traded one of its Sherman tanks for a smaller counterpart.
It's an M5A1 Stuart, and the other big thing for us that was nice about it, especially over the Sherman, it's much smaller, weighs a little less than half what the Sherman does, and maneuverability-wise, it's so much easier and more convenient to have in the park.
The M5 Stuart can reach speeds up to 35 miles per hour, and being a light tank, is much more maneuverable than other vehicles. Developed in 1942, it was used in battle for recon and infantry support for the 1st Division, making it a perfect fit for the museum.
These tanks in particular were actually attached to, they were in a light tank company, Company D of the 745th Tank Battalion, and the 745th was the tank battalion attached to the 1st Division throughout World War II.
At Cantigny, though, the tank will be a teaching tool, giving visitors an up-close look at how these vehicles operated.
We will definitely be having it out here to do demonstrations in the parking lot here, kind of doing circles and things like that, showing people how they move, how they sound. And then also we'll be stopping it, parking it for events we have in the park, just like our other historic vehicles. We'll pull it up kind of around in certain areas where the public can see it, and we'll park it, close it up, and let people walk around, check it out.
A real example of history in motion. For Naperville News 17, I'm Casey Krajewski.
Richardson said they plan to name the tank Dorothy after the wife of a former 745th tanker named Eddie Ireland, who frequently attended Cantigny. The friend and stepsister of Anne Frank gave a special lecture in Naperville. Our own Christine Lena was there to hear her story.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu.
It was a historic night at North Central College where Ava Schloss, the friend and stepsister of Anne Frank, spoke about her experiences in the Holocaust.
It's a necessity to tell people what has happened because, like we have heard, there's still people who don't believe it.
The Chabad Jewish Center of Naperville hosted the event, where a sold-out crowd heard Schloss recall how she became a refugee when World War II began. She went on to share how she met Anne Frank in Amsterdam, who was just 1 month younger than her.
She always sat on top of a stair and tried to get a whole group of kids, and she was telling her stories. So to me, who was 11, she was very grown up, much more sophisticated than I was.
The two remained friends until Nazis captured Schloss's family on her 15th birthday. Schloss and her mother were then separated from her brother and father, who didn't survive after 9 months in the Auschwitz-Birkenau concentration camp.
They told us, you're going to be tattooed, you get a number on your arm, and if ever we need you, you are going to be called as a number, forget you are a human being with a name.
After being liberated by Soviet soldiers at the end of the war, they reunited with Anne Frank's father, Otto, who went on to marry her mom years later. The chance to hear a first-hand account of the Holocaust was a treasured experience for the audience.
It's crazy that can still hear people live talk about the Holocaust, and that hopefully my kids will be able to see videos and stuff, because eventually, this won't be an opportunity for everyone.
Schloss has shared her story around the world for almost 40 years. She hopes that education will encourage others to come together in times of hatred.
But we have to be not like the Germans, to be bystanders. We have to dare to have an opinion. We have to speak out.
Reporting for Naperville News 17, I'm Christine Lena.
Ava has written 3 books about her experiences before, during, and after the Holocaust. Up next, find a match through Gladiator Tennis.
NCTV 17's game show, Game On Sitcom Showdown, is going to be legendary. With tickets selling fast, we're expecting a full house for our live studio audience on November 7th. So grab your Modern Family, friends, or Brady Bunch,
Marsha,
and join us for a night of fun, laughs, drinks, and
yada yada yada.
Hurry though, or you'll be the last man standing without a ticket. Visit nctv17.com for more information.
You got it, dude.
There was a need for it. A lot of other people were looking for the same thing that I was, so it just went from there.
This is a story as much about solving a problem as it is about playing a sport. Steve Hess is the founder of Gladiator Tennis, a league that has more of a pickup basketball league vibe and less of the rigidness of a rec league.
All the players will sign up on the website, register for the season, and then the day that the season begins, they'll be able to see their schedule of 7 opponents and their contact information, and then they just contact each other to play.
And that is at the heart of the league. The players pick a time and place against their opponent, people they may or may not have ever met.
It's flexible. You can kind of schedule the times that you want to play or can play. It's competitive. They put you in groups of people that are at your level.
Lindsay Roden and Gene Meeker are 2 members of Gladiator Tennis and are here at Waubonsie Valley for the singles tournament, the end-of-season blowout.
It's the largest singles playoff tournament in the Midwest. We have about 350 players across the 5 skill levels.
It's been going strong for 13 years, the same amount of time the league has existed. But it wasn't always as robust as it is today. In fact, they had 34 players in 2006. Now they have 1,300.
For the first 4 years, we didn't collect any money. We just reinvested everything that was collected back into the business. And then the 5th year is when we started to actually, live on some of the profit, I guess you could say.
Steve and his wife Karen have made this a full-fledged business that started right here in Naperville. They now serve players spanning the Chicagoland area and St. Louis.
The players like the flexibility of the scheduling, number one. They like the affordability. It's only $42 for a 7-match season, and all your opponents are scheduled for you, and you don't have to go find people. We do that for you.
I didn't want to pay a lot of club fees and that type of thing, so I was actually in a retail store and I saw a flyer with some phone numbers you could tear off, and I called it up and found out about it, and I've been playing ever since.
Despite the end of the outdoor season descending on Naperville, the league will continue on indoors because, for the same reason the league was started, there's a need for it. Reporting for Naperville News 17, I'm Kevin Jackman.
And if you have an idea for a sports story feature, you can let us know at newstips@nctv17.com. 2019 marks a special anniversary for Adopt Pet Shelter. On October 31st, the nonprofit animal shelter celebrated 30 years of serving nearly 30,000 dogs and cats and giving them a loving home.
I feel like it's a huge accomplishment. We've done some really great things throughout the year that I'm just so proud of. We do a lot to help older animals like Whitney. This is Whitney. She's an older senior gal, but we've really developed our medical programs, our crisis assistance programs, and of course we, continue to adopt out lots and lots of animals.
And to make the most of the occasion, staff dressed a few furry friends in Halloween costumes. It made the milestone that much more fun, with treats for all. And a fun fact, Adopt Pet Shelter's painted dog sculpture in downtown Naperville this summer came in first place as this year's popular vote. And that's what's happening right here in your neighborhood, Naperville. We'll see you next week. Until then, you can catch up on local news by signing up for our NCTV 17 news update delivered right to your inbox Monday through Friday. Sign-up information is right on our website, nctv17.com.
This week's Naperville News 17 is brought to you in part by the following sponsors. This program is partially funded by a grant from the City of Naperville.